Right.
All right.
And we're on. What's up, everybody?
What's up, guys?
I just didn't know what to say there for a second. What's up, everybody? It's Jonathan Lewis here for Superhero Chat.
On a special Sunday night episode.
That's right. So tonight we're going to be talking about our favorite top 10 Green Lantern characters ever.
That's right.
And so, but first, we're going to...
News and notables.
We got some news and notables.
News and notables. So
the first thing I've got is August 10th, Play for Life Comics.
Represent, Rio.
I beat you to it this time.
The Wake Forest Mini Comic Con. What is this, the third year in a row? The third year? Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
So, for the folks who are actually keeping up with this and interested in this event, I saw where Brandon had posted earlier this week that somebody had tried to say that the show has been canceled, but it hasn't. So please, if you're making plans to come, please do. It's still on as of this past week. So I'm really amped. Like I think I mentioned this last week in the video. Jonathan recently went to a comic book show without me, which makes sense. He's 3 hours and some change away. But just like him calling and telling me about all these excellent books he found, like Booster Gold #1, first appearance of Booster Gold.
Well,
which I already had
found, but
he's got a much nicer copy. But anyway, yeah,
you had that one all this time?
Yes, I brought it for the Pick Your Justice League or whatever. I think it's in this stack over here behind me.
Jesus.
No, I do have it. That's how I know who the bad guy is.
I got you.
Plus it mentions on the front, but whatever. Anyway, so I'm really amped. I can't wait. I think that's going to be an excellent show. I feel like it gets better every year.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Same, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm excited. We'll be there.
Yes. And we may or may not make a video on the spot with people who are willing to talk to us.
That's right.
So if you're going to be there and you want to be in a superhero chat of your own, come find us. We're cheap, so we dig in the cheap bins. And then we bother the artists.
And then we spend so much money, it would have just been better to have, buy a expensive comic.
That's true. But we get a ton more. I mean, we got a long box full last year. Who knows what's going to happen this year?
That's right.
I'm saving up my pennies.
So
I'm putting them in my loafers since I never wear those.
Right.
I'm old.
All right. Any other news and notables? What you got this week?
You know what? I really have not read a whole lot of anything since last we talked. I've been working a lot. I worked close to a full schedule last week for the first time.
Yeah.
And boy, were my feet hurting at the end of it. But so I just really hadn't had time
to apologize. I had every intention this week of doing a review of Doomsday Clock #10 and of Leviathan Rising, but this week has been really crazy. Getting ready for this coming week because
you're going on vacation.
What time? 7 hours from now, I'm leaving. So, yeah, and so I decided to skip sleep and hang out with you guys.
Woo!
So we tried to do it last night, but I was just exhausted, and I'm really exhausted tonight. But
priorities.
It is what it is. So we will not have our normal live stream tomorrow because there's no way I can do it.
Yeah, right.
We'll be back in style the week after, and we're doing it tonight, so it's not like you're going forever without us.
That's right. You're getting it in early.
But yeah, when I get back, I'll be doing the Doomsday Clock video that I promised, the Superman Leviathan Rising. I've got it right by my computer, so it's ready. Things that I've read this week: Freedom Fighters #6 was amazing.
Which has amazing looking art.
It's really good. It's been really good. Venditti has been excellent, as always. I don't think I've ever read anything I didn't like from him. He was doing Hal Jordan, the Green Lanterns, during Rebirth, and it was excellent. 50 issues of pure awesome. And then he had a much better 50th issue than Batman did.
Don't have to try too hard there.
But this issue's really good. They had a twist ending about the villain. Really cool. If you're a long-time Superman fan, you'll kind of figure out who it is pretty quickly. It's pretty awesome. I was pretty surprised that they went that direction. But it's really good. It's really good. And then the other thing I read was Shazam #6. And
you got time between when #7 comes out and when Doomsday #11 comes out.
Yeah. I was going to say, I haven't read, I accidentally skipped Shazam 4 and 5, and I really didn't miss much. I hate to say that because, I'm enjoying it.
The artwork is
it's just got a slow build. It's just got a slow build. But I really enjoy it. I like Shazam. There was a really good ending with Mary, I think is her name. Pretty terrible name. She does something pretty cool at the end. I'm not going to spoil that, but I thought that was really cool. Really fit with her character. And then, as the cover says, Billy's dad returns. So, pretty cool. Pretty cool. It kind of confirms some of my theories about the second movie, because his dad's in prison, and his dad gets out and comes to find Billy. And so who knows? Who knows? But that's what I've been reading this week. Lots of fun stuff there. So I haven't really seen a lot of news about stuff. It's been kind of a slow news week. I heard that the X-Men movie was pretty terrible.
Yeah, I heard that too.
Somebody said that it was worse than X-Men 3.
Oh my goodness! Yeah. How's that? I don't know.
I'll have to judge for myself.
You have to really try hard.
Right. Or not try at all.
Well, maybe that's what happened.
So, who knows? I didn't even know it was out, to be honest.
I forgot that it was out. I meant to mention it to you last week when we did our video.
I knew it was coming out. I didn't know when.
That's how little I cared. Sorry.
That's how bad the advertising was, really.
Yeah. That last trailer we saw when we watched Avengers looked good, right?
I think so.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe it'll be good and everybody's wrong. I'll find out.
Maybe Marvel will do it again. The third time's the charm, right? They've had three.
That's what's going to happen.
Swings or 2 swings at this movie already, and they've just whiffed it.
Oh,
so maybe Marvel, now that they have their rights back, will be like, you know what? Let's make this and make it a good movie.
Yeah.
Because Dark Phoenix, she could be a big bad, right? Like Thanos or whatever.
There you go. I don't know.
It's not what we've gotten so far.
Yeah.
As far as Dark Phoenix goes,
the only actors on there that really draw me in are the guy playing Professor X and Magneto.
Yes, they're excellent. But, I don't need Mystique.
Yeah. I don't care for most of the others.
Yeah, I don't like the new guy they got for Nightcrawler. He looks too small.
I hadn't seen him.
I don't need him to be jacked, but the other.
I do like the guy who did the Beast.
Oh yes, he was great.
But I will say I much prefer the older Beast from X-Men 3. He was one of the few redeeming qualities of that movie.
Yeah, I thought he did good.
He was an excellent Beast. Like, that's my vision of who the Beast is from that movie.
Okay.
Because, well, I mean, I saw the cartoon, so, I mean, he's pretty similar in that. But the look of him and the way he acts is pretty awesome. So,
the guy who played Beast in the First Class movie and these more recent ones, he and Robert Pattinson were up for the role of Batman, or at least frontrunners in that. And it seems like Pattinson is now in the lead or taking the lead.
I thought they gave it to him.
Yeah, but it hasn't been confirmed yet, I don't think.
I don't know.
So,
I don't know. Where's
but I was thinking, dude, that guy who played Beast would be good. Like,
what is that guy from again?
The Pattinson guy is from Twilight, but Nicholas Hoult, I think, is the name of the guy who plays Beast in the newer series of X-Men movies.
Yeah.
And I thought, he had a pretty good look as far as, and the way he carries himself, I think he could pull off Bruce Wayne pretty well.
Yeah.
So.
We will, I guess we'll find out before too long what they do.
Right.
I mean, they got to get a Batman and a Superman going.
Yeah.
So I know some people would disagree with that, but I don't think you can have DC without them.
Not ultimately, no.
In the long run, at least.
Right.
But anyways.
I think we're going to have to do a video in the near future about ideas that could make a great movie, or the company that owns them should have jumped on it sooner and made a great movie. Because I was just thinking about the Legion series, not superheroes, even though I think that'd be amazing, but the one that I gave you a lot of comics of. I think that would make an excellent series of movies. My only concern at this point is that I think folks might look at it and think it's copying Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
Even though it predates the particular Guardians of the Galaxy that's in the movies by a good 15 to 20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So things like that, but anyways.
Well, that's all our news and notables for today. Unless you got something else, Lewis.
No, I think I'm good. Since we're talking about Green Lantern, I figured I'd mention this to you. In one of the newer issues, he's going to team up with Green Arrow.
Oh, I got that one. I just hadn't read it yet.
Okay, well, there you go.
When I saw it, I was like, hey, maybe I'll jump back on this series if they keep this up. I'll at least check it out. Because I got the first two, and I was like, nah, not my thing. All right. On to our main topic. Six Hulk!
Who's invading this video too?
Pity the fool that doesn't mention Six Hulk.
How can we have a top 10 without Six Hulk?
Hulk sad. Alright, go away, Six Hulk. Alright, I don't have fancy pictures today, so it's just this one. But that's alright. We're going to be talking about our top 10
Green Lantern
characters. Now,
I'm wearing a green shirt in honor of all that. Or it was at the top of my drawer when I opened it, and I was like, all right, I'll put this one on.
I have green eyes. Does that count?
There you go. Mine are hazel.
During St. Patrick's Day, my mom always said, well, you just got to say you got green eyes and you'll be fine. I'm like, I don't know why I gave my mom that voice, but so I did. I went with it.
Hey, Jonathan's mom, if you're listening, he's not trying to be offensive. He just did.
That's not my impression of my mom. Anyways.
Jonathan's mother is a lovely person.
So, our top 10 Green Lanterns. As you know, if you've been watching this channel for a long time, Green Lantern is one of my favorite characters of all time. I love the Green Lantern Corps. Always have. They're always in my top 5. And yeah, I really like the idea of the character. I like the idea of overcoming with willpower, and I like the fact that they have a ring that shoots out energy and creates
crazy constructs.
It's pretty awesome, and they can fly in space. They're basically space cops. I love it, and just one of the coolest designs for a character ever. I've always been partial to the color green myself, but
hey man, it used to be representative of magic back in the day.
Yeah, but
and when I say back in the day, I mean like in medieval times, like Sir Gawain and the Green Knight.
Yeah.
Gawain, yeah, whatever.
Hey, I read that one, so I don't remember.
I read that one too, dude.
I remember reading it. Anyways, so number 10, what you got, Lewis?
I got Gnort or Nort. Not really. When you read the names on the page, there's usually not any way to help you
I think
pronounce it. But he's like this shaggy dog character that was introduced simultaneously in Jared Jones' run in the 90s, and then the Justice League book at the same time. And he's really annoying. So he's meant to be more of a comical character. And he and Guy Gardner are buddy at times. And it was just hysterical. I don't consider him like a genuine, like top level Green Lantern, but he's funny to read. And I just loved what Giffen and DeMatteis did with him in their Justice League comics. So that's why I like him, because he's a funny character, but at the same time, he fits, right? He's a Green Lantern.
Yeah.
And since I start with that, I'll just say I have a few honorable mentions that we'll get to later that probably could knock him out. But I just thought it'd be great to mention the character for those of you who are like, the heck is he talking about? So yeah, go track down those issues. They're generally fairly cheap in the back issue bin. That's one of the things you'll find out. We aren't trying to cause you to have to go, spend millions of dollars. You can get some Nort issues fairly cheap, but they're good reads.
Yeah. So Lewis, since we talked last, I've changed my number 10.
Okay, that's fine.
I'm going to argue for it.
All right.
Oh man, I just blanked. Oh, all right. So my number 10 favorite Green Lantern is Sinestro.
Okay, I've got no beef with that whatsoever. He was a Green Lantern.
I really like Sinestro when he's a Green Lantern. Obviously, he makes an amazing Yellow Lantern, but I really like him as
he's the only Yellow Lantern, just for my own headcanon or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, your headcanon's wrong in this instance. Embrace all the colors of the Lantern Corps.
I know. I have no use for any of that.
Oh, come on. I'm going to convince you one of these days that they're all pretty cool.
I actually don't mind the Sapphire one because Star Sapphire has been a Green Lantern.
Blue Hope, man. St. Walker, come on.
I know. You just want it because Barry Allen's one.
No, I like St. Walker better than Barry Allen.
St. Walker is a cool character. If he were the only Blue Lantern...
He is the only Blue Lantern, pretty much.
Okay,
he's the only one that really ever does anything.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. But I've got no use for the Indigo.
All right, this isn't about them. We can talk about
anyway. Whatever. Yeah, we'll get in that on.
So Sinestro, I unpopular opinion coming up. I liked the Green Lantern movie, and I'm very biased, so I understand why people don't like it. But one of my favorite parts was the training where Sinestro is training Hal Jordan to be a Green Lantern, and as much as he fell from grace, I think the fact that he's one of the best Green Lanterns of his time until Hal Jordan comes around really shows it how well respected and how well he was, how good he was as a Green Lantern. He was respected by all. He trained the newcomers, and I think really Hal Jordan is one of the things that really pushed him over the edge because here's this young hotshot who suddenly has more willpower than he does.
Well, no, he was corrupt and tried to get Hal to ignore that.
So, I think the character's pretty cool. I like him as a villain, but I think he makes it really good. There's stories where he is a Green Lantern, and I think he makes a great one. So,
I love the character. I think he's a perfect foil for the Green Lanterns. Yeah, some of the best Green Lantern stories definitely involve him. Like the Green Lantern Corps series, which I'll mention more in a minute about that, end with him on trial and they lock him in the power battery. And at some point he gets out and kills somebody important to further up this list. And then he gets back in there, and of course he finally breaks out during the Emerald Twilight storyline.
Yeah.
And those are all
He's
excellent.
Released during that one, though.
Right.
All right, so that's my number 10.
All right. My number 9 is Tomar Ray. And you're like, wow, why is he so low? No, he's not low. The people that are above him, I just have more affinity for. I think the character is essential. If for no other reason than he was the Green Lantern on duty when Krypton exploded. He also died during the crisis. He came back apparently, but he died fighting one of Green Lantern's villains, Goldface. Stupid name, I guess.
I don't think he's come back.
Huh?
I don't think he came back, did he?
Yeah, it's. I mean, New 52, right? Like he came back with that, I think.
I thought that was still Tomar too.
Yeah, it's confusing to me too because
I don't know.
I know he died during the crisis, and then of course his corpse was brought up in the Blackest Night series, and then there was all the storyline with his son you were telling me about and stuff. But with a storyline like being the Green Lantern on duty and not being able to make it to Krypton before it explodes, you have to be important to take that role. I mean, you can't just give it to anybody. And so when he dies, his ring goes to John Stewart, who had Hal's ring, and so Hal's ring went back to Hal Jordan. So in his dying, Hal and John get to be Green Lanterns at the same time. And I thought that was a really cool sort of workaround, because there was like a rule at the time that there could only be 2 Earth Green Lanterns or something like that. But anyway, yeah, there's like 30 of them now, so whatever. But no, he has a really cool look, and very alien, but he's a good representation of what the Corps is about, integrating the human characters with the alien and mixing sort of that melting pot of the universe kind of thing, if that makes sense. Like if America is the melting pot or stew of the world, then the Green Lanterns represent that for the universe, and I just think that's really cool. So,
yeah. All right, my number 9, Alan Scott.
What?
Why is he
so low?
The only reason he's so low is they don't do anything with the character.
That's true.
He never does anything anymore. I was glad that he at least had, a cameo in Doomsday Clock, even though he hasn't done anything.
Yeah, the art on that looks good. Too bad it takes
really
forever.
liked how he acts with Kyle Rayner's run. There's some great stuff in the few issues I've read of that.
Spoiler alert, he's further up my list for that very reason.
So I really like Alan Scott. I just can't personally justify putting him higher because I just haven't read enough of him because he's not active anymore. And I really hate that. Like, if I could get, if they put out like a Justice Society and put him back on it, man, that'd be awesome. But nope, they don't do that. Instead, they just leave a character sitting out there for random cameos that do nothing. So, yeah. Right. But I like the character. I mean, he's the original. He's the Jay Garrick of the Green Lantern Corps. He's the guy that inspired all the others. And, there's just something special about that. And, he's kind of, I think, wiser than the others. He kind of acts like this wise sage that appears when he comes up, at least the ones that I've read of him, where he's guiding the younger guys. Like, hey, yeah, I've been here for a while. I've seen some stuff. Let me help you. And I think that's pretty cool. Kind of like Jay Garrick does. And yeah, I really like the character. Even though like he had some cheesy stuff, like he was immune to wood, and yeah, and that he created his own Green Lantern ring, kind of weird, but
Well, yeah, he found a meteorite and somehow
decided, hey, I'm gonna make myself a ring.
Yeah,
gave it power. So yeah, but I think the character's pretty cool. I wish they would do more stuff with him. They just. I think they should just ignore the continuity problem and just make good stories with them. I think that's what they're afraid of. But
with the way they're going, I think I'd be in favor of them ignoring the continuity too, because in some ways they've already done that. That ship sailed. Yeah. The horse is out the gate, kind of thing. But anyways, yeah, I'll talk more about Alan Scott here in a minute.
All right. Number
8 for me is Chip. He is a chipmunk Green Lantern. He's an alien who looks like a chipmunk.
Oh, I like him.
There's another guy named Badge, BDG, Badge is how they pronounce it, who's currently, as far as I understand, is the current guy from the same planet Chip was from. Chip joined and was prominently featured in the Green Lantern Corps series that spun out of the original Green Lantern. I think it was the original. I don't know. After Crisis, Green Lantern switched from being Green Lantern to the Green Lantern Corps and focused on like 7 or 8 different Green Lantern characters that were stationed on Earth. And Chip was one of them. So I found this character through the quarter bin in my old comic book store, and it on the front it had this villain who looked like this dude who was somehow made a part of a truck, and his name was Truck. It was really stupid, but it turns out like there's a twist to it. Like, that's not all there is. So a bunch of Green Lantern villains team up, like Sonar, Dr. Polaris, this Truck character, and they're all like attacking the Green Lanterns and stuff. And it's just a fun story. We dive into some of Chip's backstory in those issues, and he was just an interesting character. Unfortunately, DC made the very terrible decision in the mid '90s. To have him die in the excellent Green Lantern Mosaic series that was about John Stewart, basically becoming a guardian and taking care of this world that had where one of the old guardians had taken cities from all over the universe, and he was trying to put them all together on one planet and have them coexist peacefully. And he was basically charged with caring for them and being the Green Lantern for that particular world. Well, in that series, Chip got ran over by a truck.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, spoiler alert. So, anyway, I thought the character was interesting. He was cute. He came out at the time that Chipmunks, Alvin, Simon, and Theodore had their cartoon show, and so I'm sure some of that was to capitalize. Some of it was just like, let's figure out another alien character for this book, and so he wore overalls, and I just thought he was funny.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
All right. My number 8, Simon Baez.
Ooh.
I really like this character. And I didn't expect to like him. When I picked up Rebirth for the first time, that was the first time I'd really ever heard of the character. And it was him and Jessica. And I was like, I don't know either of these characters, because I think they were created in the New 52. And I was like, I wanted a book for, the other guys. Because I just read Green Lantern Corps. I don't remember what it's called, but they're lost in a dying universe. It's a 6-issue series. It's got all the other ones except for Kyle. So Hal, John, and Guy are all trapped with a bunch of other Green Lanterns, and they're trying to go back to their home universe while the one they're in is slowly dying, and it's close to death. And then in Rebirth, they had both Green Lanterns and Hal Jordan, the Green Lanterns, and I was like, I'll try it and see what it's like, and I loved it. It was really good. I forget who wrote it. I forget the writer on that series, but I really fell in love with both of the characters. And what really stuck out to me about Simon Baez was his hesitation to trust the ring. So his story is that he was in prison, and something happened, and he doesn't trust himself without a gun, and so he always carries a gun around in case the ring fails. So he has a backup, his trusty gun. And then in that 50 or so issues in Rebirth, he slowly learns to trust the ring, trust himself, trust his partner, trust the ring, and slowly move beyond that weakness to rely solely on a gun. And they kind of reverted in the end, which, I was kind of disappointed, but at the same time, I thought the way they did it was really good. Because pretty much the whole Green Lantern Corps turns against him, and he distrusts the ring again. So I thought it was pretty interesting. But the character is just really good. Him and Jessica coming together and learning how to work together as a team was really good. And I hate what they've done recently in the No Man Land of non-Rebirth era, because he hasn't done anything. They don't know what to do with the character. He's just out there somewhere. For some weird reason, they just decided to rip Jessica Cruz away and send her off to another part of the universe, the Ghost Sector or whatever. And he's, I guess, on Earth, but he's not doing anything. So him and Guy and John and Kyle are all just kind of floating around in the abyss.
Probably just hanging out at Guy's bar.
They're probably hanging out with Alan Scott is what they're doing. Floating off into obscurity.
Which is really sad. I just want to say that...
no, I think John
Stewart
is actually...
the Green Lantern... Say that again?
I said actually Jon Stewart's still around.
Yeah, so if he's not the Green Lantern that was supposed to be killed by Wally West in Heroes in Crisis, I just worry that like these characters start to get popular.
Yeah.
And DC's like, oh, we can't have that. We can't have you be a popular Green Lantern. The only Green Lantern who can be popular is Hal Jordan, or the only Flash who can be popular is Barry Allen, or whatever. So we're going to, turn you into a mass murderer or kill you or something. It's just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. But anyway. So.
But yeah, I think he's a really interesting character. And so just really cool. I like a lot of the plot lines that revolve around his back life. Like, he's a Muslim American and he has to deal with some of that. And there's some things that carry over into the Green Lantern Corps. Pretty cool. And the way he his relationship with Jessica Cruz was awesome. They were really good. Like, I feel like one of the problems with the Green Lantern Corps is you don't have like a lot of times you don't have like a duo. Like any good cop show, you've got a guy and his sidekick or his partner. And with the only weakness to Green Lantern Corps is they never have a partner. And until they did that with Jessica Cruz and Simon Baez, and I was like, this is beautiful. Why can't we keep it this way?
Tale of Two Lanterns.
Yeah. It just makes sense if you'd have a partner to back you up. And the bond that they formed, great. It was so good. I love Simon Baez. There's a really awesome cover that I have with him. He's got like 6 rings, and he's like ready to beat up on the first Lantern. Pretty awesome.
Yeah.
It was.
I remember when you told me about that. I was like really impressed at the structure of that story.
It was one of the best issues. Right after that one, the one with the cool cover, was one of the best issues of the run. So yep, Simon Baez, number 8?
I think that was 8. 10, 9, 8. Yeah. So my number 7 is Salak. And you're like, who the heck is Salak? He's like a pinkish orange guy with 4 arms.
He's the healer dude, right?
The dude that what?
He does the medical stuff, doesn't he?
I don't know what he does.
I think that's how they've been using him now. He's got like a weird triangle face.
Yes.
Or like a duckbill face.
Yes, a little bit like that.
Yeah, he's the medic right now, which I thought was really cool.
He was created by Marv Wolfman. I had no idea until I was looking him up to make sure I had his name right. But yeah, so he was very much by the book kind of character, like very into rules and regulations and things like that. He developed a good friendship with Chip. And at one point he went into the future, married a woman. When I say a woman, I mean like an actual human. So they were doing interspecies marriage in the DC universe a long time ago. So don't really have any comment other than to say I forgot that. But anyway, it just he was always kind of I'll just say it. He was a prick. He wasn't like the most likable character, and yet there was something about him that I felt like that having that rule keeping nature. I get that. Like having grown up with my parents and things like that, trying to be the good kid. I totally get all that. And so there was just something about him that spoke to me. He was very introverted, it seemed. And so a character like Chip, who's bright and cheery, had to draw him out. So I really like that dynamic. And he got a lot of focus in those Green Lantern Corps issues from the 80s. And so, yeah,
I just dug the character. There was an annual in the Rebirth run where Jessica Cruz is being trained by him. Cool. And they go to his home planet, and like everybody is like that. and he's kind of considered more of a crazy person.
Interesting.
Not crazy, but he's more wild.
Right. He's
compared
more of a
to everybody else.
Yeah.
And it's pretty funny. There's a big mystery going on about their planet. It's pretty cool.
Nice.
Goes into some Green Lantern Corps lore. But I thought it was really funny development of the character with him. I'm pretty sure it's him. Pretty sure it's him that's in there.
Yeah.
But yeah.
You guys will have to forgive me. I don't read a whole lot of new Green Lantern stuff. Despite the few instances Jonathan has won me over to, I still haven't tracked those issues down, so I'm slack on that. So just trust and believe most of what I'm going to tell you comes before 2000.
Yeah.
Purely coincidental if characters are still operative now. So, but anyway, like I said, I thought that visually the character is interesting with the 4 arms and the big head that's pink. So, just like him. So yeah. And I'm not trying to be humanist because I have one more alien on my list, and then the rest are humans. So I'm not like trying to be rude to different alien. I don't know.
We're sorry, aliens. We love you too.
That's right. I mean,
we're not trying to leave you out.
Aliens, so that ought to tell you something.
All right. My number 7 is Jessica Cruz. She quickly became one of my favorite Lanterns. Reading Green Lantern's run, just excellent series, excellent. Honestly, my 2 favorite books in Rebirth, other than Superman with Tomasi, was Green Lantern and Hal Jordan, the Green Lanterns, and Green Lanterns, and I was so disappointed that they dropped them. For the worthless stuff we're getting now. I'm sorry if you like the Grant Morris stuff. I thought it was boring, and I didn't care for the artwork that much. And I mean, it's okay, not my style, and it was boring to me. Whereas
artwork is an acquired taste.
The people who did those, Venditti and Hal Jordan, and I keep forgetting who did. Maybe it was Jurgens.
Jurgens did Green Lantern. Yeah.
And man, it was so good. It was so good. I mean, there's a couple issues here and there that weren't, great, like any run, but most of it was so good. It really developed the characters, and I just like the idea with Jessica having a lot of anxiety, and she's having to overcome who she was and trust that the ring chose her for the right reason. And I feel like since Jurgens left, that title's been over, they really haven't captured the character well. She's kind of been like a hollow character, it's got the face and the look and everything, but not really the personality. I mean, I enjoy, I think it's Williamson doing the Justice League Odyssey, but she just hasn't really developed her character because they've been focused on the others, and that's okay. I just didn't understand the direction they're going these days, and but I really like the character. I felt like she brought a breath of fresh air to the Green Lantern Corps, in that she was fun, lighthearted. She was new. She was enjoying the the power that she had, and there's something great about like the young hero coming up and learning all these new and cool things and enjoying the regular day-to-day things about having the powers, as opposed to the older guy who's had it forever and isn't wowed by the same things anymore. Right. And I really like that about the character, and I love, one of my favorites was when Guy Gardner is training her, and basically has her. She ends up like punching him, in the end, and it's beautiful. Every time Guy Gardner gets punched, it's a beautiful thing.
Yes.
But man, I love the character. She's really well written in Jurgen's run, and I enjoyed her in Justice League when she was on there for a little while. And even though I didn't care for the story overall, I liked the Barry Jessica romance going on. Even though it didn't make sense because he was in a steady relationship with Iris at the time and the Flash. Anyways, but I really like the character. She won me over. Her and Baez both are just really excellent. I really like both of them. So,
do you know she's featured in the Justice League versus the Fatal 5 movie?
Nah.
Yeah. So she won somebody else over too because they used her in one of their animated movies.
Yeah. Well, she's a female Green Lantern from Earth, so she's probably going to get used a lot. Just like John Stewart's one of the only black characters in DC, so he gets used a lot. Which is why they'll never sink to Alan Scott's obscurity, unlike Kyle and Guy. And now Simon, which also surprised me because he's Muslim.
Yeah, I know. I was shocked by that too. But
not to mention that all of them are great characters. I'm just saying, some of them have a leg up in that because of the search for diversity.
So, spoiler alert. Some of those characters he mentioned are further up.
We may have mentioned everybody in our top 10 already.
Yeah, I think we have.
There's only one we haven't mentioned, I don't think. So, at least on mine, we'll see.
All right.
Number
6.
6 Hulk! Oh! 6 Hulk, man!
Are you mad, 6 Hulk, because you're not on our Green Lantern list?
I had to.
We know that you as a Hulk are green, but you're not a Green Lantern.
So. All right, I'm done with that.
Well, my number 6 is actually a big guy in his own right. It's Kilowog.
Oh. He was the one I said we hadn't mentioned yet.
You actually did mention him.
Did I?
Yeah, in reference to somebody else.
Whatever.
Again, I go back to his first appearance, Green Lantern Corps number 201. Just picked up the numbering. Just picked up. Strange, right? They changed the title, but kept the numbering back in the day. Today, they'd be a new number 1. But anyway, they introduced the character. He was from Bolivix or something like that, and you have to remember when this story was written, the Cold War was still going on. So America, Russia, they were like at odds with each other. There was the arms race to get nuclear weapons first and that sort of thing. Did I say nuclear right?
Yeah, I think so. I guess.
I can't remember. Nuclear. Yeah, whatever. I've heard it both ways. Doesn't matter.
There you go.
Anyway, when Kilowog came to Earth, he felt distant from the other Green Lanterns, but then he had an adventure in Russia, and he felt very connected to the idea of communism because there was like a connectivity in his home world that he was missing. And I thought that was really interesting, that they would throw a sympathetic bone in the direction of Soviet Union communism.
Yeah.
Particularly for the time. So that was interesting. He eventually went on to become sort of the mechanic handyman for the Justice League when his ring. At one point, the Owen battery blows up, and there's like only 1 or 2 rings that will work. And Kilowog's doesn't, so he goes and becomes the handyman or maintenance man for the Justice League. And so he has great conversations there, and he has good conversations with Rocket Red, who's a a Russian character, and eventually he does get back to the Green Lanterns and becomes their drill sergeant, so to speak, which is sort of the role he's kind of had ever since. So
yeah,
physically just a big guy. Love the look, right? Like he's a giant character, but he has like this. What's the character from Futurama? Because he kind of reminds me of him. You know what I'm talking about?
the squid.
Yeah.
Or not squid, the lobster guy.
Yeah.
I don't remember. Doctor
I don't remember the name, but anyway, I just visually I think he has a cool look, and yeah, I like the layers of the character. Like he's not just one thing. Like he's this hard drill sergeant guy because he's that, but he's also intelligent because he was, the handyman fixing the Justice League teleporters and everything, and of course, he's this sympathetic character who misses his home at one point and sees some value in a system that most folks would just dismiss out of hand without even giving any kind of a look. So he and Guy Gardner were sort of the extremes within the Green Lantern at the time, where Guy Gardner is like America and Kilowog's like, but wait, it's not, communism is not out and out all bad. There's good aspects even underneath the susceptibility of the system to be corrupted and abused by those in authority.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to tell you, folks, I read into these characters. So.
My number 6, Tomar 2.
Ooh.
So Lewis said Tomar Ray, but my number 6 is Tomar 2, which is the son of Tomar Ray. And I never really.
The Revenge of the Sun.
I remember it because it's 2, so he's the second one too. But what I love.
So he's Tomar Jr.?
Yeah.
Is that what you're telling me?
That's right. Well, I think Tomar is the last name. Or it's the surname, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. It's kind of like Vietnamese people. I had a guy in my algebra class who tried to help me understand his name.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait, you're telling me your last name first. What's going on? But
yeah. So I really got to know the character well on well, he was in some of the I think he was in Justice League Unlimited, or he was at least in Hal Jordan the Green Lantern animated cartoon. But I really got to know him in Rebirth under Venditti's writing for Hal Jordan the Green Lanterns, and his storyline just really was excellent. I love the idea of the passing on of the torch in the family. Like he's trying to live up to his father's name. Hal Jordan is teaching, or Hal Jordan, has seen both his father and him and has become good. Hey, Danzer, greetings, welcome. By the way, anybody else watching, feel free to comment. We're here.
We do try to read and reply.
But what I like about Tomar 2, I really think the storyline that they go down in Hal Jordan Green Lantern's core is excellent. He ends up becoming a Dark Star because he's been kind of corrupted a little bit. And really, it's that he kills the man who killed his father.
Goldface.
Huh?
Goldface.
Yeah. And so he and Hal Jordan fight it out, and he ends up being kicked out of the Green Lantern Corps because he murdered him and covered it up, and he's unapologetic about it. And I thought that was a really interesting take, a really interesting turn for the character, and there's some really great stuff between Hal and Tomar too. But during that, but eventually he goes into the Dark Stars, and he leads an almost unstoppable force. And there's this really great scene that I was looking through trying to find some stuff a few minutes ago. I think it's in issue 50 or it's issue 49. And it's just a double splash page of Tomar 2 fighting Hal Jordan. Beautiful, just a big picture of them punching each other. And just a really great character. And spoiler alert, he dies in the end of that story. And it's just a heartbreaking scene for Hal Jordan, who loved his father, loved him, was really close to them both. To see them both, or see him, try to protect his dad in such a way, and then really he wants to protect all people throughout the galaxy rather than just locking them up for them to escape later. And I thought that was really really good. And he eventually becomes the thing that he hated, a murderer. And so I love it. It was such a good storyline, and I just instantly fell in love with the character. I love the generational aspect of the character, and I'd love to see another Tomar show up in continuity. That would be really cool. But no, just a great character, strong storyline that they had for him, and really enjoyed it. So that's my number 6.
Oh, we're at the top five. Green Lantern. Well, I'll just mention my number 5, and I won't spend a whole lot of time because I feel like that'll be handled quite well by Jonathan later. But my number 5 is Hal Jordan. He was the first of these intergalactic space cops to be introduced after the Silver Age began. And I think he visually has an excellent look. I think if you go back to his original Green Lantern outfit, it would hold up just as well as the new stuff he wears. He's trendsetter that way. Excellent background with the test pilot fearlessness aspect. He is the standard bearer, I think, for the Green Lanterns. I feel like he has set, what a Green Lantern ought to be in a lot of ways. He's an excellent leader in that regard. He led the rebuilding of the Lanterns in the late 80s, early 90s. I guess it was early 90s series for Green Lantern, and I thought that was really cool.
Danzier says he loves the picture, by the way. It's the Booster and Beetle picture.
Chilling, yeah.
Yeah, I love it too. Thanks. I didn't draw it. All props to the artist. Right.
But you did take a picture of the book you own.
That's right. So.
Anyway,
I'm a pretty great photographer.
With regard to Hal Jordan, it's ironic that he rebuilds the Lanterns only to be the one in Emerald Twilight to tear it all down. Anyway, yeah, like I say, I figure Jonathan will say more. He's one of the first Green Lanterns that I encountered in the comics. Or I guess that I should say that I encountered. He wasn't the first that I encountered in the comics, and I'll explain that as we go up further up the list. But yeah, no, I mean, he has a presence about him that is well earned. I'll just say that, well earned. So when you see him in the comics, when he shows up in the comics, you're just like, okay, we got mad respect.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah, Denzer. I think
hard to think of a bad story that he was in.
One of the reasons I picked this picture is because I'm Booster and he's Beetle in our own imagination. So I'm always on that side where Booster is, and he's always on the side Beetle is, And that's kind of what we do when we hang out. We just sit around, eat food, watch TV, and talk about
videos.
So, my number 5 is Kilowog.
Nice.
Dude, I love Kilowog. He is great. For all the reasons that you mentioned. I kind of feel like he's the Chewbacca of the family. He's the one that everybody loves, and except for he can talk.
Right.
At least normal speech. He's like the calmer version of Guy Gardner. He's more self-controlled, but he's also got that rage that Gardner has, which I think is pretty cool. I love the design of the character. He's just this big alien dude that flies around with him. If anything, like he's close to a partner for Hal Jordan than anything. Which is why the fight going on in Emerald Twilight is so big. I feel like if they had gone with the partner idea before that, like actually made them partners in a series, that would have had even more weight to it. But yeah, oh well. I love Kilowog. He's always fun. He's more lighthearted, kind of goofy character that but he can also be serious, and he's always hands on. He's like, let's get this done, guys. Like, and I love the character. I mean, you said a lot about it, more in depth than I know, but I've always loved Kilowog. I was so glad that he was, hanging out in Hal Jordan in the Green Lantern Corps. And it's always a delight to see Kilowog running around punching people. So, but yeah, I'll keep it short since you said a lot. But that's my number 5.
All right, my number 4 then is Guy Gardner. He is the quintessential.
Well, let me say mine is also Guy Gardner.
Is it really? Yeah. Your number 4? Excellent. So we'll have good conversation here. He is the quintessential jerk of the Green Lanterns. You literally love to hate this guy. So much of my reading for him came from the Justice League comics. First from the Giffen DeMatteis run, then from the Jurgens run, and Death of Superman and all that. And he just was who he was. Like, you knew who he was, and you're like, there were times where you're reading and you're like, why is everybody bashing on him and hating on him? And then he shows up and you're like, oh, I get it now. I totally understand. And he has so many people he goes back and forth with, like Blue Beetle and Booster Gold. Like, they just rag on each other. And it's great. Like, I actually liked the Green Lantern Rebirth storyline that brought Hal back and brought Guy and Kyle and John back into the Green Lantern fold and all that. I thought it was a pretty good story. I just hate some of what they undid with it, but ultimately, I was glad to see that Guy was back. And there was an excellent story where he goes to undercover. Like, there's like a Black Ops undercover Green Lantern group and there's this really cool story where he goes undercover. And I wish I remembered the name of it, because I'd recommend it for you to read. I checked it out from the library at the time that I read it, and I just was like, dude, this is great stuff. But yeah, Guy is, like I say, just a big time jerk, but he has layers to him. He's not just a jerk. I love. Oh, go ahead.
And he was abused as a kid.
Yeah.
And that just kind of really shows why he is the way he is. I think him having an accident as well. Caused some of that, and
brain damage.
he's just got so much trauma in his life, and the fact that he's able to overcome that and be, one of the, baddest guys in the universe, is pretty awesome. There was a pretty touching story. I think it was in Hal Jordan Green Lanterns. It might have been afterwards. I don't remember exactly where it was, where he encounters his dad again, and his dad is regretful, and it takes him a while to come around. I don't remember if he does or not, but yeah, it's pretty good character development. I love him because he's your favorite jerk that you want to see get punched, but it's also equally fun to watch him punch all the bad guys because he does it in such a bombastic way that is just so fun to watch. I mean, he's just so arrogant, and when you have a villain that's been well developed and you're just so tired of them, having Guy Gardner just like, hey, gloves are off, man, it's going down. You're like, let's go, let's do this thing. Whereas, Hal Jordan, he'll kind of have his big speech of, you shouldn't do this, whatever. But guys like, forget this, guys. What are you doing? Let's just beat this dude already. And they had a huge storyline, and a lot of my reading from comics is from Hal Jordan Green Lantern Corps recently, so it's the most on my mind, which is why I reference it so much. But there's a great story in that where he fights fist to fist without the rings with one of the biggest bads of the Yellow Lantern Corps, and Arkillo, and they end up being friends, which is so great. Like the partner for Guy Gardner is a Yellow Lantern, and the fact that they can come together and fight is awesome. I really love their friendship. Very unlikely friendship that they build there. Mutual respect for each other, and none of the other Green Lanterns would be able to do that. It's just not in their nature. But he's such a rough around the edges kind of guy that he could befriend, even a Yellow Lantern and beat up all the bad guys in the galaxy with him. It's pretty awesome. I love the character. He's such a fun character to read. And when he gets his due justice from some of the other characters like Batman, Hal Jordan, Jessica Cruz, all of them, it's so good. It's so gratifying.
I'm going to describe one of my favorite Guy Gardner scenes. He's fighting the Rocket Red Brigade, which is the Russian
Justice League.
Well, not exactly. They're more like the Russian answer to Iron Men. Like they all have these special armor suits or whatever. But as he's fighting them and joyfully beating them, he's singing the national anthem.
Oh my goodness, that's funny.
Like it sums up Guy Gardner so well, and so like on Earth, his loyalties would be on his sleeve. But if you take that kind of a character that would grate on your nerves and really, needle your sensitivities here on Earth, and you put him in the universe, suddenly you have a compelling story because he's confronted with like these. I mean, it's a beautiful description of what art can do. Right? Because you take this character who on Earth is insensitive to any position other than his own, and you put him in this environment where he has to take a minute and say, no, wait a second, what's going on here? As opposed to, let me just rush in and start beating up the who I know to be the bad guys, right? And suddenly you're like, oh, this guy is not just this guy, but he's got layers to him, right? Yeah. Like, I think it's a great character. And I think when he's done well, either playing the part of the jerk or playing the part of,
the hero,
like you were describing, I think there's this nice storytelling ability that can be had with this character.
I used to really dislike the character until I got, learn more about him and learned, he's, despite him being a big jerk, he's very heroic, and he really does care about people. He just does it in a weird way.
Oh, it's very weird.
It's you have to peel. It's like on Shrek. He's an onion. You got to get past the main of the layers.
The part that makes you want to cry.
But yeah, so that's why he's number 4.
All right.
Number 3.
Well, no, I think we'll take a moment, if you're cool, and just run down some honorable mentions.
Sure.
All right. So I got Mavilio. I'm sure I'm saying that wrong, but he was like a dude a few centuries ago, from whatever the modern time was. He was an evil guy. He got a Green Lantern ring, and or he stole one or the other. And he was an evil guy, and he set up this, basically positioned himself as being mega powerful. Hal beat him and took his ring. I mention him principally because it was put forth as an idea that this is the reason that Hal flipped the switch and did Emerald Twilight before, 15 years later, they introduced the idea of the yellow impurity being parallax. That's why I mentioned him.
My first one is Mogo the Living Planet.
Oh, he's on my list too.
I love Mogo. He's such a cool character. I love the fact that he's a planet.
Yeah.
And oftentimes he's housing the entire Green Lantern Corps.
Yeah, at one point he was their home base.
And I just think it's really cool that there's living planets in the universe, although he's the only one I know of in the DC universe. And the fact that he can be a Green Lantern is pretty awesome. I mean, that's got to be one powerful lantern.
Yeah.
If it's the size of a planet. I just think that's a really cool character idea. And they've done some really cool things with him, even though, he's more of a minor Green Lantern character, but he's there. He was New Oa for a while.
Yeah.
Until they rebuilt Oa. So pretty cool stuff.
I love his first appearance story, like when they reveal the whole deal. It's Alan Moore, who is a phenomenal, well-respected comic book writer. It's a short story. You guys can track it down online, I'm sure, for free, but it's worth tracking down and owning a copy. It's from Tales of the Green Lantern Corps or something like that. Very cleverly done. There's a guy who's hunting for Mogo, but he doesn't realize that Mogo is a planet. Yeah. So it's just a great little story there. I hate that they turned him evil at some point in recent history, where he was brainwashing Green Lanterns and stuff. And he's very much a lonely character because he can't go anywhere without affecting the gravity of other planets. So that creates a little bit of discontinuity there. But anyway.
Danzier says celestial body consciousness. I don't know what that means, but...
Yeah, what's that in reference to, Danzier?
I guess Mogo?
Mogo, yeah.
I don't know. All right, you got any others?
Yes, Ariza. So, as a teenager, I thought she was a cute character or whatever. She was Hal Jordan's girlfriend when I was buying back issues of the Green Lantern Corps. She's like golden skinned with blonde hair. and she had a different kind of outfit than the rest of the Green Lantern Corps.
He says it's a planet with thought.
Do what?
He says it's a planet with thought.
Yes. Okay. Sorry. I can't see the comments because I'm not on Facebook. I mean,
outside
YouTube.
Of Earth.
Yeah.
Because Earth doesn't have thoughts.
That's right. So there's Ariza. There's Cairo, who was the Green Lantern from the Batman Beyond cartoon show. So the future Green Lantern from that I mentioned just because it's Justice League Unlimited continuity, and we love that series. And then lastly, Kat Matui. She replaced Sinestro as dude. How did I just brain fart Sinestro's home planet?
Or does it?
That's gonna annoy me. Like you were annoyed earlier by something. I'm gonna have to look that up because that is really annoying.
While you're looking, one on mine is Somar Lee. She's the replacement for Tomar 2. And she hasn't done much. She's just a little girl. And I just really... the joy the character had, even in a few pages of having a Green Lantern ring, and the naivety of the character, kind of reminded me of a young Jessica Cruz. So I really enjoyed the character, even in the little bit she had there. So I'm excited to see like somebody from the planet of the Tomars, carrying on the torch from Tomar, Ray, and 2. And I'd love it if she was somehow related to them, and if they taught her about them and the heroism of them as well. I think that'd be cool for the character.
So Sinestro and Kat Matui are from Korrigar. Anyway, in the comics, Kat Matui actually marries John Stewart, and that was very prominently featured in that Green Lantern Corps series from the 80s that I just found to be fascinating. So,
is that the way he trained John?
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked her in the few issues or episodes of
Justice League.
No, was it that? I thought it was okay. I think she shows up in the Hal Jordan Green Lantern Corps show or something.
Cool.
I could be wrong about that, but maybe it was Justice League I'm thinking of. But I really I like the character a lot.
Yeah, so she's in the 2 episodes where they fight Despero.
Okay. Yeah, I like the
The
character.
only misstep of that particular episode is they made him more of a Green Lantern bad guy than a Martian Manhunter bad guy.
All right.
So
number 3.
That's all of my honorable mentions. So number 3 is Alan Scott. I think you said it well. He is the epitome of the elder statesman. In a lot of ways, I think he's the forerunner to Superman in the DC universe because Superman comes later. I love the idea of a World War II hero who, through whatever means, is able to continue the fight against the forces of evil. I love his power set. It's not exactly like the Green Lanterns, because it has like the green fire effect around it as opposed to being just solid green light or whatever. I love the legacy aspect of the character, like you mentioned about Jay Garrick. I think you're spot on with that. I love visually his look. He's got the red and the blonde hair. I even liked it when he was Sentinel. And they really, I feel like Jeff Johns did a great job fleshing the character out within the Justice Society comic that was coming out from the late 90s, right up to, I guess it was Infinite Crisis. And, he is to the Justice Society in that age what Superman is for modern DC. And so I look forward to DC getting off their high horse and re-introing the Justice Society in some form or fashion, because I think the Justice Society is integral to the DC universe. I feel like you can't have the appropriate DC universe without the Justice Society. I mean, because who else are the Justice League trying to follow in the footsteps of, if not the Justice Society?
So. I imagine that they're going to have that pretty soon. If we ever finish Doomsday Clock.
Yeah, it's a big if, isn't it? All
right. My number 3, Jon Stewart.
Woo! So, spoiler alert, he's higher up on my list.
I love Jon Stewart. He was the perfect Green Lantern for the Justice League cartoon.
Yeah.
I mean, he just really did well. That was kind of one of my first times learning about the character in that, and I loved everything about him. I like that he's more technical in his constructs, and he really, I feel like, becomes the lead character for the Justice League. For the Green Lantern Corps. Like, I love Hal Jordan and all, but Guy Gardner should be the leader of the Green Lantern Corps. I mean, he deserves it. I mean, his character works so much better as the main leader. He's able to. He's very thoughtful, very sharp, and he's a good strategist because he was a military man, if I'm not mistaken.
That's a more modern take on the character, but I'm okay with it.
And so, he's able to control, to some extent, as best as you can, some of the wiles of Guy Gardner, and he's able to kind of direct the wildness of Hal Jordan and Guy to where it needs to be directed, which takes a lot of patience and strength to do, and he's able to really, I feel, encapsulate what it means to be a Green Lantern, and therefore lead the entire Corps. So when they're down and out, he's like the Captain America of the Green Lantern. He's able to rile the people back up and bring them back into focus, which I feel like Hal Jordan gives people hope, but and so when he shows up, you're like, okay, we're good. He's like Superman, but I think Jon Stewart actually summons courage back into the people and is able to help them get their own willpower. I think that's pretty important for a leader. I love the character. I think he's great. So
all right,
that's all I gotta say.
I'll save my remarks for when it goes up on my list.
You can correct everything I said. Number 2.
Oh, no, I won't do it. So number 2 for me is Kyle Rayner.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes. I love this character very, very much.
Well, I'll say my number 2 is Kyle Rayner as well.
Oh, sweet! Look at that. So it was Kyle and Guy, right, that we had in the same spot.
Yeah. Now, the reason for me why he's not number 1, because I feel like he's my favorite, is that I feel like he really deserves to be the White Lantern. So I rationalize it as he's my favorite White Lantern.
All right, fair enough.
And so that's why I put him second.
I love him because my cousin gave me Green Lantern Zero issue, and I had no idea who the character was, but he was fighting Parallax, Hal Jordan at the time, and I'm like, dude, this is awesome. I don't know what's going on, but it makes me want to track down these issues and see what the heck's the matter.
Yeah.
Which eventually I did do, and it was just so new. Like, the character was fresh, and Ron Mars, who was the writer at the time, was doing great work, and so I was super into it. And it was one of the few series that I followed at the time, and was like, I need to know what's going to happen. I need to see what's going on. And to have that with the first issue you read of a character, the artist and the writer have done their job properly. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the feeling you want to have. And I read that sucker till it fell apart. I love that issue. I just visually the character was different than what we had before. He had the white with the crab mask. There was, relationship drama with him. There was all these new avenues. There was the mentor mentee kind of approach with Alan Scott.
What I liked about him was that he was new to the job, and so for me as like a new reader, even though I didn't really, I kind of came to it a backwards way.
Right.
I learned about the character from YouTube and then Wikipedia, and then read Emerald Twilight and the first run of Kyle. I think he was introduced to me as a White Lantern even before that.
Right.
So like that, but even still, like he had this aspect of learning all this lore, which is where I was. He was a young character that I was learning the lore for. And, he didn't know who he is. He just had some random alien drop out of the sky and give him a ring. And he's like, I don't know anything about this. But, I knew who the Green Lantern Corps was, but I didn't know all of them. Like, Hal Jordan was really the only one I knew and at the time. And so, for me, I was kind of walking in the same shoes as Kyle, learning the history and the lore of the Green Lantern Corps, and I really thought that was really cool. I really enjoyed the character, and the fact that he becomes a White Lantern, probably one of the most powerful beings in the universe. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah,
and I feel like he deserves that more than even Hal, because I feel like Hal's like the perfect Green Lantern, but I know you might disagree with that, but
what did you say?
That Hal's the perfect Green Lantern.
Dude, I said he
gold standard,
I said that in my own
and
thoughts.
Yet you didn't put him as number one.
I don't need him as number one.
Whatever. Anyway, so I really like Kyle. I like him probably more because he becomes a White Lantern, and I really like the idea of a White Lantern.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Anyway, I just I think the character's fascinating. I'm not sure why DC has not been doing as much with him lately. I think you're sitting on hot properties for no reason.
Yeah.
For the record, I think if what is Ryan Reynolds had portrayed Kyle Rayner, they could have had like this solo hero and then introduced all the stuff in the front, right? Had the core show up and all of that later. I think it would have served that movie better than it actually did. I feel like Ryan Reynolds' character is not as Ryan Reynolds as an actor. He plays a wild character better than he does the more straight-laced character that is Hal Jordan. And I know at times Hal is free-spirited, but that's more in contrast to Barry Allen when he's, oftentimes the straight man for Green Arrow. So, anyway, I just think the Green Lantern movie could have been better if it had focused on Kyle, or even if it had just focused on Hal. But whatever, I'm not here to discuss that. I just really feel like Kyle was a breath of fresh air in a world that I didn't even know at the time. But man, the story possibilities for those characters, like having gone back and read through that series up to that point, like there's a sense in which you're like, they literally could have gone either direction, kept going with Hal, or, the way they went with Kyle. And so I get why people were upset about that. But I feel like what they did with Hal, ultimately, they did redeem the character in my mind.
Yeah.
So, anyway. That's my take on Kyle.
Number 1.
For me, Jon Stewart. So it kind of helps to know this. Back in the day, my comic book store had a 25-cent bin. I remember digging through, and I saw where he's fighting Eclipso, who somehow, strangely, did not make my top 10 DC villains list, even though he's one of my top 10 favorite DC villains. And I just remember being taken in by that issue. I was like, I thought Green Lantern was white. This dude's black. What's going on? But I love it. Like, as I'm reading, and he's not wearing a mask, and you're like, what the heck is this dude not wearing a mask? Or actually, maybe in that issue he was wearing a mask, but eventually he takes the mask off. Like, and I thought that was so cool. I'm like, dude is so gangster. He's just like, I don't mean that in a racist way. I just use the word gangster to mean boss. Like, he was the man, and he's like, dude, I want you to know that I'm Green Lantern. I want you to see me. I don't want to hide behind a mask. And, he doesn't have all that stuff of like, I've got family to protect and this, that, and the other thing, because like so much of his family was dead, and he didn't have like a steady relationship. He had this one girl who was a reporter who he was talking to, but I think she turned out to be a manhunter or something. And of course he starts dating Kat Matsui, and she's a Green Lantern, so he doesn't have to worry about, her getting killed or anything. Not in a usual way, I guess I should say. But and then I was like reading that comic. I'm like, this dude is awesome. He's fighting, Eclipso, who was a cool bad guy, and he's like commandeered this satellite that's like boring a hole across the United States or whatever, and the beam is not having any effect, so he's got to go up there and fight the bad guy. And I just remember being taken in. It has a beautiful Dave Gibbons cover. I can't remember if he was the artist for the issue or not, but track that down. It's a great single issue. There's continuing storyline threads in the issue, but you can read that one as a standalone. I think I have at least 2 copies of that. I might actually have 3 copies of that story because of how I just really love that story, and ended up buying it again somehow. But yeah, no, it was my first introduction to the comic book Green Lantern. I knew Green Lantern from Super Friends and other cartoons and stuff like that. And then to see how elevated they made Jon Stewart in the Justice League cartoon show, I just thought was like the cherry on top, because he finally got the recognition I thought he always deserved. So he's different from Hal Jordan. I think, like I said, Hal Jordan is up there. Like, when I think of Green Lantern, admittedly, I think of Hal Jordan. But when I think of my favorite, John is one of those ones who comes to mind first. I mean, just running down his list of accomplishments, he replaced Hal Jordan, and then ultimately he replaced Tomar Ray. He went on to found the Mosaic world and become essentially a Guardian. And when the Guardians and the Green Lantern Corps were done away with, he led the Dark Stars. And then when they were destroyed and he was crippled, he went back to architecture, which was what he originally did. And then, of course, they retconned him to be a military man, and so they added that to the mix, and all those things just work out to this really cool, intricate character who's at home on Earth or at home in space, and I ultimately, that's what makes him my favorite. So,
and then my number 1, of course, Hal Jordan.
Woo!
He is the Green Lantern. I feel like he's like the Superman of the Green Lantern universe, and like he's the big bad. He's the one with the most willpower. He's the one that's always going to be there. Nothing can stop him, and you know, I just really love the character, and I think that's why one of the reasons why they keep bringing him back is because he's such a great character. One of my first introductions to him in the comics, because I had seen him in cartoons and stuff for years, which is why I love the character from pretty early on. I knew about him, but when I first started reading comics was right before Rebirth, and he forges his own ring with his own willpower. And I'm like, dude, that's amazing. I knew enough about the Green Lantern Corps lore by that point to know that that's just crazy. And the fact that he's able to do it, and man, it's so good. And he never gives up, even in the darkest of times. I really love that part of the character for all of them, which is why Green Lantern's one of my favorites. Is even in the darkest of days, they don't give up. They always fight for what's right. They fight for victory, to protect people.
Truth, justice, and the universal way.
And Hal Jordan really just, I think, captures it, and which is why I'm biased toward the Green Lantern movie. I didn't think Ryan Reynolds was that bad at it. I think he captured some of the charm of Hal. Even if he wasn't the best, I think he captured some of the charm. And he always just jumps in. He's like, you know what? I'm gonna get in there. I'm gonna do it. I've got my ring. That's all I need. And he's just got such an amount of willpower that seems to be bottomless at points. And I just love the character. I think he's really great. And yeah. I
think we're gonna have to sit down and revisit that movie.
Yeah. We've said that about a lot of movies.
I know.
I really loved it. I was surprised people didn't like it. But I understand now. But
right.
When I first watched it, I went and saw it again.
You saw it twice?
Yeah, in theaters.
Wow.
I mean, to be fair, I had a friend who wanted to see it the second time, so that helped.
Sure.
But I was excited to see it again because I enjoyed it. So yeah, I love the Green Lantern Corps. So I knew I was biased when I started hearing people not like it, but
yeah, I'll have to watch it again. It's been so long. I'd be willing to change my opinion. I mean, I like some pretty bad comic movies.
Well, I think the problem with that movie was similar with Spider-Man 3. They just tried to do too much.
Yeah.
Especially for the first film. Yeah, I feel like a lot of people complained about the CGI, but if the story had been good, they'd have gotten over the CGI.
Yeah.
And so they just, because they had Parallax, they had that weird guy.
Yeah.
And then they did the Sinestro thing. I'm like, so you have 3 villains in one movie, even though Sinestro hadn't become a villain yet. I'm like, that's too much. Parallax is really something you shouldn't bring up in the first movie.
No, because that's confusing even to somebody like me who's been reading comics for years. I think with that movie, if they just focused on his Earthbound adventures, and then the end of the movie was him going to Oa.
Yeah.
And him meeting like Kilowog and Tomar-Ray and all the other Green Lanterns. I think that would have been a really cool segue into the second one.
Yeah.
Right? Then the first one could be Green Lantern. The second one could be Hal and the Green Lanterns. right? And then they have this big, universal adventure, and then at the end, you have Sinestro turn and reveal that he's the big bad, and he's got the Yellow Lanterns and Parallax, and then it's like it just boils over and leads into the third movie, and then you don't have all this. What's going on? You know what I mean? Like, we can keep him meeting the Guardians. We can keep like cameos of these other Green Lanterns, but save like Kilowog and this training scenario. You know what I mean? Like, what am I trying to say? So, like, obviously he's got to be trained in this, but he takes it naturally on Earth. But at the end of the movie, he realizes, okay, I really do need training to be the best Green Lantern I can possibly be, to live up to Abin Sur's.
Yeah, we didn't even mention Abin Sur.
Okay,
man, he started it all.
All right.
All right. Well, hey guys, let us know what you think.
We love Green Lantern.
Who are your favorites? What's your top 10? Let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear what you think. Leave us a like if you enjoyed that video. If you're new here, go ahead and subscribe. We'd love for you to join the family. We just generally have our live streams every Monday night. And I'm trying to do more videos, although this week again I'll be out of town, so that's why we're doing it tonight instead. So we won't be there tomorrow. But yeah, let us know. What?
I said this video will be there.
Yeah. So let us know if there's any topics you'd like us to talk about. We'll try to work it in. We, keep coming up with all sorts of cool stuff, and a lot of it's been inspired by you guys. So, but yeah, again, we thank you for watching, and we'll catch you next time.
Peace.
Peace.